I know. Where's the music? I thought I didn't have any volume on.
Okay, I was the same way. I thought, uh-oh, what did I do?
Hello? Hello?
Me too. I thought the same.
I kept adjusting my volume.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our final session of the 2021 NMOA State Clinic. Thank you for joining us for this presentation from the Diversity and Inclusion Panel. So just to give you all kind of an idea of where this was born out of, during the pandemic, we were trying to find different ways to relate with our officials and different information to provide for them. And something that's been near and dear to my heart is work in the D&I and the DEI field. And one of the things we started talking about was applying it to officiating and realizing that for us, diversity, inclusion, it's bigger than race. It's bigger than really anything that we do. It's about group size, it's about demographics, it's about rural versus urban, it's all of those things. And at the end of the day, it's all about opportunity. So we assembled a diversity and inclusion panel, and they've been working hard since November. Brilliant group of officials, and we have 3 of them who are with us today to present our material for us. And I apologize that there was no music. Nate had to leave, so I am not as tech savvy as he, and you should be glad there was even an intro video. So I'm trying to record, convert a meeting, answer emails. I'm a mess right now. So, you know, he was like, well, Dana, since you're leaving the state, I'm just going to leave you hanging for this last meeting, but that's okay. We still love him anyway. So our presenters today, we have 3 individuals again, and they all have very diverse backgrounds and very, very interesting histories, all 3 of them. And they've done this presentation one other time, and I really thought that was a great way to not only end this clinic, but to kick off the 21-22 school year. So let me read you the bios for these 3 individuals who will be presenting, and they're Gerald Baca. So Gerald's passion away from his day job as a judge on the New Mexico Court of Appeals is being a sports official. He's currently an NMOA official in baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and wrestling, and has been a member of the association in the Las Vegas area for over 20 years. During his officiating career, Gerald has had the pleasure and good fortune of calling collegiate wrestling and baseball, as well as calling at the state wrestling tournament, the state basketball tournament, and the state baseball tournament, as well as calling state playoff games in football. Gerald, as you can tell through the fact that he's involved in 5 sports, he loves being a sports official. He enjoys being with the student athletes and working with and for them. His goal is to hopefully be a role model for the student athletes so they can see that no matter their background and wherever they come from, they can be and do whatever they want in life. And I think Gerald does a great job with that. Our second presenter is Elaine Chavez. She started her officiating career in the sport of wrestling 23 years ago. She was the first female in our state to officiate the sport and went on to be the first female to officiate at the New Mexico State Wrestling Tournament, which she's actually accomplished on 4 occasions. This love of officiating and sport eventually led to her involvement with professional boxing and MMA, where she has taken part in nationally televised events such as HBO Fight Nights and the UFC. Elaine actually just began her career as a starter in track in the Albuquerque area. And after watching her start probably 17 or so track meets this year in the Albuquerque area, she does a fantastic job at that. So Elaine, welcome. And our third presenter this evening, afternoon, whatever time it is Carissa McGee. Carissa is a basketball official out of the Central region and has officiated for 5 years. She used to be a highly competitive high school athlete before making her way onto the court wearing the black and white stripes, and she uses her competitiveness to push herself and her partners to leave it all out on the court. And anyone who knows Carissa knows that she's definitely a competitor. Don't let her amazing smile fool you, because she loves to compete. And it actually, I've seen her work, and she brings out the best in her partners every game that she calls. So we've got a great panel here today. Gerald, Elaine, and Carissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dana. If you could just please give me sharing screen privileges, and I'll turn it over to you, Elaine.
Looks like you should have them.
And I just want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Yes, ma'am. Not yet, Carissa?
Not yet.
Oh, here we go. Try that. All right. See, I told you, Nate leaves and I just fall apart, man.
Can you all see the screen? I'm sorry.
Hello, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can see your screen, and Elaine, we can hear you. I think we're ready to roll.
All right, everybody. Hi, my name is Elaine Chavez, and I'm one of the officials that was part of the diversity team. I'm so happy that Dana picked me to be part of this, because I believe, just like the other people here, I have a story to tell. I started officiating with wrestling 23 years ago, and just getting in was hard, just because I'm a woman. Most of the time when people saw me in my stripes, it was kind of a joke, and are you really here to wrestle, or what are your qualifications? And a lot of times that can be a barrier for people to come in. Now, people might ask, we are New Mexico, we are diverse, we are already doing everything right. When you look at the people in your Zoom sessions today, you saw all different colors, all different races, all different personalities. But just like every great official, we can do better. And that's why we're here. We're here to, one, help with recruiting, share with our knowledge, share with our availability to teach and grow from where we go. And everyone who accepts others can show and accept others and learn from them, can always grow. Even the best officials, every single best official can always get and do better. And that's exactly why we're here. And then I'll turn it over to Gerald. He can kind of introduce himself.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm Gerald Baca. As Dana said, in my day job, I'm a judge on the Court of Appeals, and most of the time away from court, when I'm not spending time with family, I'm refereeing somewhere or umpiring. And for me, it was an honor. It is an honor to serve on this panel, because I think, as Elaine said, even though we're New Mexico and we're diverse and our membership in the New Mexico Activities or Officials Association is already diverse, I think we can do better. We can do better in terms of when Dana talked about diversity and inclusion not only deals with race, but also all the other variables in our lives, socioeconomic situations, all of those things, where we come from, big city versus large cities, north versus south, all of that sort of stuff. And so I'm here to try to hopefully even the playing field even more than what it is. I think Dana's done a great job of doing that, giving everybody a fair opportunity at excelling. But we're taking a closer look to see what more we can do.
All right, thanks, Gerald. Thank you, Elaine. Hi, everyone. I'm Carissa McGee, and I will share with you a bit about myself right now, but give a deeper dive later in the presentation. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today and just giving us your time and attention. It's a Saturday. You got Game 5 on for those who are keeping up. I know that you could have been somewhere else, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. And so I'm really grateful to be a part of this panel and to be a part of this diversity and inclusion movement that we have established, because I know what it is to not feel like I belong simply because I didn't see myself represented in a certain group. And that is something that's very difficult to find the courage to muster up and face that and overcome that. And I know that it's just important to have that figure represented so that the younger generations have some hope in seeing that maybe they too could follow in that footsteps, and who knows, even go further. And so I'm really here because I want to be that representative. I want to be that symbol of hope and idea for our younger generations to believe that they too can belong, regardless of what they look like or their background, what they may have experienced, and or their lack of experience. We are open to those who are open to us. And for that, that's why I'm here. And I'm just really glad to be a part of this with Elaine and Gerald, because they too have that same kind of passion and commitment to, this panel and what we're doing. So with that, that concludes our little introductions about us. As you can see from our photos, we are very family oriented, and we are very proud of that. And so I will turn the time back over to Elaine, who will continue this on.
Thank you. All right, so this is our mission statement. The mission of the NMOA Diversity and Inclusion Panel to ensure all association members are educated about and aware of the importance of diversity and inclusion within the officiating population. The goals for the NMOA in terms of diversity and inclusion are as follows: to create, nurture, and sustain a diverse and inclusive membership and culture wherein officials of every age, gender, race, religion, and sexual orientation from every part of this land of enchantment are welcomed to the association and fostered through the educational process of officiating. To ensure that the opportunity is available to officials who are dedicated to the mission of the NMAA and the NMOA, regardless of the size of their geographic region and local association. And to ensure that not only officials are educated in these endeavors, but the lessons are wide-reaching to coaches, students, administrators statewide. As officials, we are looked at as leaders. And as leaders, we need to show what we stand for. And we stand for is acceptance of every single person. Like Carissa said, having someone out there representing you, having a female out there representing you, or someone of color, someone who looks like you, or someone who you can feel like, to set the example is so important. I know that one of the hardest things for me when I became an official in wrestling was that there wasn't any other women out there. There wasn't anyone that I can look at or look up to. And and it was hard. It was difficult. But since then, and by the way, when I started, women weren't wrestling either. But since then, we now have women wrestling teams. We had, in fact, the second state wrestling tournament for women. And I kid you not, every single match I cry because it's been such a long time coming. And I have wrestlers, female wrestlers, come up to me all the time saying, hey, I used to watch you, and because of you, I wanted to get into this sport. And that's what makes my heart happy, and that's my passion. Next slide. And this is just is the magic within each of us that gives the potential to inspire the world. Every step we take, every time we put in that whistle, every time we throw on that jersey and get out there and officiate, people are looking to us to be that example. We have that example. We have to lead. And the better job we do, the easier it is for everybody else to do, not only at the same time, but in the future. Remember, we are developing those officials, those people in the stands, those kids that are looking up to us. One day, they could be there because of you. And the next. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Gerald, who's going to talk a little bit more about what the definitions are with diversity.
All right, thank you, Elaine. And so we have a definition of diversity because we're talking about diversity. We'll talk about inclusion and other areas. But I thought it was interesting to see here a picture of the young Nate, who unfortunately isn't with us today, but I just, that picture, I think, talks a lot about that even our leaders started somewhere. They started when they were young. They felt like they were welcomed and that they could succeed. And I think that speaks volumes of who we are and where we're going. And we haven't reached the goal. We work every day, I think, as a association statewide with the leadership of Dana and Nate to become better and better and more inclusive. So with that said, diversity is defined as having a range of people with various racial, ethnic, socioeconomic, and cultural backgrounds and various lifestyles, experience, and interests. Having a variety of individuals and points of view represented within the population. Diversity is a group of people who are different in the same place. And that's us. That's who we are. We're you look around you, just looking on, as Elaine said, just looking on the people who are on the Google meeting with us today, you see diversity. You see people from all walks of life, all professions, all economic backgrounds. And you see that we come together, and even though we may have differences, we come together for a common purpose, that goal of being the best official we can to serve the coaches and student athletes in the state of New Mexico. And that's awesome. And we want to promote that and make that even better. And so let's talk about the next slide. And so here it comes. All right, and here we go. A beautiful, beautiful photograph of, I think this was taken at the pit at the, I forget which state basketball championship game it was, either 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, where I think this is the crew that was an all-female crew who called the state championship game and was making history. 2016 Roswell versus Gallup made history, I think, in the nation. And that just demonstrates even more the inclusion that we're talking about here in this slide, that it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, male, female, whatever, that you're included, that you have opportunities, and that you will succeed if you work it. You got to put in the work. It's just not going to happen automatically. I think that's what some of our clinicians have pointed out to us in the last couple of days, that you can have all the opportunities available to you, but if you don't put in the work, then it's not going to happen. But on top of that, we have to worry about what they used to call the glass ceiling, especially for females who couldn't break into business or any profession or avocation. And no matter how good they were at whatever they did, they couldn't reach the pinnacle. And here we have a picture of the first all-female crew calling a state championship game, reaching the pinnacle of high school basketball officiating in Las Vegas. I mean, in the state of Mexico. And so that's inclusion. Discrimination is the unequal treatment of members of various groups based on race, gender, social class, sexual orientation, physical ability, religion, and other categories. And so we picked a picture here of a flag because that's our thought. We're thinking this is not good when we have discrimination of whatever kind by whoever it might be. And even though we sometimes talk amongst ourselves, sometimes men talking in the locker room, sometimes certain racial groups talking amongst themselves, thinking nobody can hear, and they tell off-color jokes or make off-color comments. We just can't accept that. We have to be better than that. We have to be able to realize that those things that we permit, we condone. And so we can't condone that kind of behavior, even if it is amongst quote unquote ourselves. It's got to be, we've got to realize that if we permit that's the way it's going to be and nothing's going to change. And so I hope that one of the messages that everyone leaves with today is that going forward, we'll work harder at realizing what it is when we make those off-color comments or those jokes. It is discrimination, and we just don't want that to carry forward in any way, shape, or form. And I just, that rings so true to me, because as you saw from the picture at the very beginning, I am a Hispanic from northern New Mexico. And sometimes in some of the language that I use, even though I try to talk some pretty good English here, the norteño comes out of me, and I'll have the no, or the oh man, or something like that come out. And it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's who we are. And I think it's just a matter of embracing that difference and realizing that that's the culture, that's where we're at, and not to be embarrassed of it and because of it. And you see in my family that we're a mixed family. In my family is Hispanic. I have grandchildren who are mixed race, Black and Hispanic, as well as a granddaughter who is Korean and Hispanic. And so just within my own personal life, I've realized that the things that we say and do have impact on people. And if we're not careful with what we're doing and what we're modeling, and that breaks into culture. Exactly. We break into, we're in a situation where we're modeling bad behavior, we're modeling bad examples for future generations. And it's all about them. And the student athletes, our family, the next generation, the people who are going to replace us, what are we going to leave them? What's the example that we're leaving for them? And what's the legacy that we want to leave? And so I think that's all of my slides.
Está bueno, Gerald.
Well, there might be one other one, an ally. What's an ally? Someone who makes the commitment and effort to recognize their privilege based on gender, class, race, sexual identity, etc., and work in solidarity with oppressed groups in the struggle for justice Allies understand that it is in their own interest to end all forms of oppression, even those from which they may benefit in concrete ways. Allies commit to reducing their own complicity or collusion in oppression of those groups and invest in strengthening their own knowledge and awareness of oppression. And I think that's true. We have to realize, where can we help, and can we help even though it might be against our own interests? And we need to do that because otherwise we, again, won't change the way things are, and things will stay the same old. And we need to be, I like the term, better than that, always moving forward. As we're talking, I want everyone to think about what things have they seen in their own lives, especially as a referee. What have you seen in terms of the discrimination that goes on? What have you seen in terms of good things too, not just the bad, but where maybe we're turning the corner and realizing that we can't act a certain way, and that we gotta, be more open to change and accepting of change. And so I turn it over, I think, to Carissa at this point. Oh, I do have this one last quote I keep forgetting. It's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, and I think it's appropriate to what we're talking about today. It says, "Keep your thoughts positive, because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive, because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive, because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive, because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive, because your values become your destiny." And that goes to the point that I was talking about a moment ago about the legacy. What do we want to leave behind for the next generation? What do we want them, what mantle do we want them to pick up and carry forward? And so if we're positive in all of these things and doing the right things for the right reasons, then there's no doubt that when we're done, I'm 59, I'm pretty close to the end, I think, even though I deny it a lot of times. When we're done, then we are sure that those who follow will continue the good work and the good foundation that we set. And talking about the foundation, I want to just chime in here. The foundation that's been set by Dana and all the 25 years of blood, sweat, and tears that she's put into our association, that we can work forward and build upon that foundation. And now I'm sure it's Carissa's turn.
Elaine's going to share this quote with us from Nelson Mandela.
I do love Nelson Mandela, and I think that if anyone who's lived through oppression and came out of it, would be him. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in all the face of all types of discrimination. And when you think about it, sports does bring people together. Love of sports, love of team, love of competition, to unite together to fight against, your mortal enemy has always been, the glory of the game. But through sport and through our leadership and through what we can do to support and be leaders for our sport can definitely change the world. When you see that referee who needs help, and yes, we should all have thick skins, and we should all, we actually all probably have thick skin because, what we do as officials. But when you see that official that has been discriminated or feels like they've been discriminated against, we should be fighting for them. We should be their ally. We should be the one who gives the hand to lift them up, because that only makes us better. So through sport, And through the love of sport and the passion for sport, we can really change the world. So I'm so proud of all the officials that are here and what they do, because it takes, ganas to get up there and to be out there and to blow that whistle. This is just one more thing that we can do just to show how great we really are. And I'll give it to Carissa.
Thanks, Elaine. Yes, I think this is a great place for us to kind of transition, because we talked about, our mission statement, explaining what it is that, our goal is, and then, some of the definitions that have definitely guided us and helped us to really understand what kind of message we really wanted to send forward. And then when we structured the order of this, Elaine and I talked about how this transition would work, with her talking about Nelson Mandela, who I personally relate with in a number of ways. And it was definitely something I was excited about, because one, she had the awareness to take into consideration that this is a Black man who has incarceration in his story. And I am a Black woman who has incarceration in my story. And so just that awareness that she had and that thoughtfulness, that epitomizes what it is that we're trying to do. And so I wanted to share with you all just what it takes at Ghana's she was talking about. We call it something else, for us to relate with. It's our why. Like, what is it that gets us going? Like, why are we here? Why would we want to have a diversity and inclusion panel? Why would we want to go against the naysayers who say that, this is unnecessary, and who tell us that New Mexico stats, we are one of the most diverse, states that there are, and association that there are. But we wanted to really just concrete what it is and why it is that we're here. Because our why is our engine. This is what gets us going. And when there's a storm going around, when there's naysayers, in our faces, we hold on to our why as like our anchor. This is what keeps us grounded. And so our why is that we believe that officiating is a rewarding experience, and it's a great contribution to our societies. That in and of itself is really a purposeful and meaningful objective. Like that really speaks to my heart. And we believe, like, if you teach to the heart, the mind is going to follow. Everything comes once you have the heart, once you understand that, people's thoughts, people's behaviors, they can begin to change. And we believe that rewarding experience can speak to the heart. And we also believe that any person who wants to be a part of the NMOA should know that they are invited and welcomed as a member of it, because they can see themselves represented. We were very intentional with the photos that we chose throughout this entire presentation. We wanted to make sure that, officials from different sports got to see themselves, of different races, of different situations. Well, it was on the field, they're like this, off the court, off the field, doing something else, meeting up, just being diverse, being inclusive. We wanted to place those photos so that you can see that that's our intention, and that's what we want to continue to build on. And so that's our why. And just to add on a little bit, it's important to establish your why, because it will become your anchor. It will hold you firm in your place, even when you're in rough waters. And so I want you guys to take that, take that message, take that thought. If you don't know your why, if you don't know what anchors you in officiating, take some time to explore that. What speaks to your heart? What is really the driving force of you showing up to the games, of you taking the test, of you, listening to the sidelines and the coaches and the best officials from the top row, right? Telling you that they got the best angle in the house. Fighting through that is your anchor. And so I hope that you guys all find your anchors, so that when you go through rough waters, you have something firmly holding you in place. And so now we have our why, our how. We understand our why, but how are we actually going to get that accomplished? How are we going to get ourselves represented, and so that other people, other generations can see that and feel welcomed? Well, we're helping to cultivate the diverse and inclusive association we believe every official deserves by first using technology to adapt to current circumstances to ensure that the connection and education of officiating has continued. That is a great adaptation. We will meet you wherever you are in the ways that we're capable of doing that. We just came off of COVID-19, And I feel like in the heart of COVID-19, when we were really locked down, I was way more connected with the association and my partners than I had been previously. And that's just because we were using technology in new, innovative ways. And I really appreciated that. We also are building on existing diversity and inclusions. Let's shout out to the women leadership who have paved the way. Dana is just like an amazing shooting star that we've been so fortunate to have in our presence and have that guidance from. And she's been a beacon of hope. Just seeing her up there and seeing her continue to rise in such positive, meaningful ways, it's really hard not to imagine myself and others, doing the same thing, because I get to personally watch somebody do it right now. And that's awesome. And we also are strengthening our association's bond by doing more off the court, which brings a better on the court experience. And so we know that if we want to reach the marginalized groups, those folks, those kids who are, least likely to make it to a sport or officiating because, maybe they have other barriers in their way, taking that opportunity to engage with them off the court, maybe in our communities, maybe we're doing an event, maybe we're showing up and we're just following, just honoring what it is that we know about them, that they're an athlete, that they're a student, that they show up to the games and they give it their all. Just making that recognition really helps to strengthen our association. And so, that's how we're trying to accomplish this why. And then lastly, our what. So what is it that we're actually going to be doing? Well, we're actively recruiting and improving our retention efforts, especially in the underrepresented populations. I know that it has been talked about and it's been something that we've been, seeing ourselves do more and more, which is taking those opportunities when we see young kids of just throwing it out there and saying, hey, you got a love for the game. If you're not going to keep playing, how about you pick up a whistle, and just challenging them in a fun way to make them feel like, hey, I could maybe carry on with this sport, even if I'm no longer on the field or I'm no longer on the court playing it. So just giving that light of hope and planting that seed when we have those opportunities. We are creating more opportunities for diverse and inclusive people to have more of an influence in the conversation. We are a great example of that. I had shared that I would go a little bit more into my story, into the presentation. And so I'm a great example of being diverse and inclusive because I have a criminal background. I have experience with incarceration. And, I know what it is to have to prove myself, reestablish myself, and, fight my way up the ranks in order to have what I have right now. And it was tough, it was hard, and I put a lot of effort into it, but I wouldn't be where I'm at right now simply off of hard work. I had to have some help from those who had the authority to help me, to open the doors, to allow me an opportunity to even demonstrate that I had successfully transitioned back into society as a safe member. I had to have somebody open that door so that I could walk through it. And, that person was Dana. I met with her when I first applied to become an official. And, she asked me about myself. She wanted to know who I was, why I wanted to do this, where my heart actually was. She didn't ask me about like all the struggles and all those downfalls and my lowest moments. She wanted to know who I was right now. What kind of characteristics did I carry? What were my morals? And she saw me for the person that I was, and that made me feel included. And so, I feel like this panel that we have, and that's just my one story of the panelists. I think it's awesome that Gerald, who happens to be a judge, right? That's a unique mix right there, that we're on this panel together. And, I'm somebody who's experienced criminal justice on one side of the line, and he's experienced it on the other side. And we can come together and have amazing moments because we know how to be inclusive. We see each other as equals. And Elaine, just knowing her passion and her story, knowing that she's the first female to do what she's done in wrestling, that right there gives me hope. Now that's my inspiration. And that's what we need to continue on in doing what we're doing so that our younger generations can also have this opportunity. It's been amazing. My journey, my walk, my experience has just been incredible. And I'm a huge, proponent for what we're doing. And I'm just grateful that we have this opportunity. So again, shout out to Dana for her outstanding leadership. And I wish you the best. We all wish you the best. We know NFHS is getting a gem. So thank you for this. I'd just like to conclude by saying you can't, it's a quote from Phil Jackson. You can't force your will on people. If you want them to act differently, you need to inspire them to change themselves. I love this quote. I think it's really appropriate to conclude what we're talking about, because we can tell you with our words, you know, like, hey, this is what we think you should be doing. You might even see us doing it, but until you decide that you want to act differently, you know, that's where the power truly lies. So we'll do all that we can, but we really hope that we inspire you to change yourselves, whatever that may be. Maybe you do more of that inclusive and diversity conversations. Maybe you are, you know, teaching the next generation how to also be diverse and inclusive, because that's important. Or maybe you're actually challenging yourself to say, do I have biases in my subconscious that I may not even be aware of that I'm willing to challenge? I hope that you have enough ganas to challenge yourself to do that. So that concludes our presentation, and I believe we have time for some Q&A. I don't know if we've talked too long, but thank you for your time and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Carissa. This is Gerald. I just wanted to have everybody, if you're on a Zoom link with a camera, to activate your camera, because I went through the different, you know, people who are on, and a lot of the cameras are turned off, but I want everybody to activate their cameras so we can all see each other and go through who's here and realize for yourself what we're made up of. That it's lots of different people, look way different from one another, but, and like I say, from different walks of life, every probably culture represented here, and realizing that we're still here for one purpose. And when we were getting ready for this, Carissa said, well, who's our audience? And is it going to be coaches? Or who's it going to be? And I told her, I think, well, I know it's officials, but I'm worried or concerned that we're the last presentation of sort of a week long or weekend of presentations, and that I'm afraid, because we're not an exciting thing to talk about, that we may not have a very large panel. But you know what? I saw 79 people here earlier, and so that's awesome. And I want all of you to look at yourselves and pat yourselves on the back for being here, for being open-minded enough to listen to what we have to say, and to be able to say, hey, yeah, maybe what they're talking about makes some sense. And so I know we're open for questions and answers, or questions, Q&A as they call it. And so.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask the panelists, please feel free to unmute. You know us, we're a pretty informal bunch. I do want to say thank you to Gerald and Elaine and Carissa. We've got our diversity and inclusion panel includes about 13 people thereabouts, and they kind of carried me through the pandemic in a lot of ways, and just a dynamic, powerful group of individuals. And you know, New Mexico is the first state to delve into this, and I will tell everybody very openly, we lost one official through our work with diversity and inclusion, who just said, you know what, I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid, and that's, you know, that's okay, because at the end of the day, we're really trying to do the best that we can and do the right thing for all of our officials. And you know, if we're going to lose one official or two officials or 10 officials because they don't like the thought of everybody having equal opportunities, then you know, that's probably okay. You know, you guys probably all saw me getting a little tearful here, so you know, this is it for me, and this is just really hard. I am grateful. I love you all, and you know, the last 25 years have been good, and they've been good because of all of you. I'm crying because I care. I'm excited about this new position and this new opportunity, but hearing Carissa and Elaine and Gerald, I've seen the growth, I've seen the changes, and they've been so positive. And I will tell everybody in Indianapolis that New Mexico has the best officials in the country, and they've all got to step up their game. So I apologize for the tearful goodbye, but this is, this is it. This is the last clinic for me. So I held it together for the other 10, and now I'm ugly crying in front of all my officials. So I apologize, but thank you all so much for what you do. If you have questions for the panel, it's like hot in here, I'm crying. One piece of Kleenex wasn't enough. But if you have questions for the panel, please send them my way and I'll get them to these folks and to the rest of the panel. We will have we'll have their information up on our website, so that way if you want to, if you want to reach out to the people in your area, in your sport, somebody who's the same background as you, the same religion as you, the same whatever as you, they'll be up there for you to talk to. And just, it is a family. Embrace all of our beautiful differences. As I'm looking at Gerald, I'm glad you asked them to do that. Amazing. It's a beautiful thing to see so many different people assembled in one place for the same cause and the same love of sport and the same love of student athletes. It just does my heart good. So keep up the good work, keep making me proud, and I'll try not to screw up things too badly in Indianapolis. I'll try to make you all proud too, and you're with my heart every step of the way. Thank you all.
Hey, everybody, let's all unmute and give Dana a round of applause. Everybody unmute and standing ovation.
Yes, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you, Dana.
Are you meaning to clap on purpose?
Oh, you
Yep,
can.
You wanna go get together?
Oh, everybody's cameras are off, or phones, whatever, microphones are on. Thank you. This is recorded, so should you want to see the presentation, not so much the me bawling like a baby, feel free to go back and watch it. We'll send the link out to everybody. Great job, guys, and have a wonderful 21-22 school year, and go kick butt. I'll be watching you from Indy. So love y'all. Have a great one, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Hit it.